Hey everyone, I'm superphiz from the ETH Staker community, and today it's not April 8th, it's April 11th, 2022. I'm here with my good friend Ben Edgington. How are you, Ben?
Hey Fizz, good to see you again. It's been a little while. You were
Yeah,
away on vacation and we skipped the last one of these, but I saw you at the Git PoApp event on Saturday, so that was nice.
yeah. GitPoApp is really awesome. I'm really stoked for Colfax and for the PoApp community that it launched. So I hated to have missed. How do you say 2 weeks ago in
A
Britain?
fortnight is a fortnight.
A fortnight ago. I can't do
Well
it.
done, well done.
I'll learn. So I kind of like we bantered about catching up, but then it just didn't work out. So I guess we're gonna pick up where we left off. And did you have any highlights from the previous uh, issue that you want to bring up now?
The main thing was writing about, I'm rather embarrassed to say, the Teku incident on Mainnet. So we didn't exactly break beacon chain Mainnet, but we Teku had a little wobble and managed to bring down about 10% of the network for about an hour. And it's all fixed and it's all good. And we found out what the root cause was and fixed everything up. But I felt I owed everybody a good detailed explanation of what went on, and we published an incident report. So I dove into that fairly deeply. That was the main thing.
I read that on the beach, actually. It was worth the
Oh
time.
boy.
A mainnet incident, yeah. So it's good to remember that client implementations will occasionally struggle. It's why we have this client diversity, and as long as we are well distributed between the clients, any kind of wobble like that is easily recoverable. So regardless of one tiny slip up, congratulations for all of the great success you've had with Teku. So let's focus on the big picture, right?
Indeed, yeah, and it is. I mean, coming to the client diversity, it there are two ways of looking at it. I mean, most chains say having more than one client makes you more vulnerable because you're more likely to get a bug. You've got X times the number of code bases, therefore you're more likely to get a bug, and then more likely something goes wrong. But the way we tend to look at it in Ethereum is about resilience, right? If you get a bug in one, then the others carry the chain, and that's exactly what we saw happen in that instance. That's exactly how it should be. Teku's less than 30% of the network, so everything just breezed on. Teku users were inconvenienced for a short while, but otherwise the chain was perfectly fine. So this is exactly as you say. This is why diversity matters. This is the resilience it brings, and that's why we're so big on it in Ethereum.
Yeah, and I look forward to talking more about that as we get into client diversity in this issue. So we're going to go through your what's new in ETH2 for April 8th. I did skim it, but I didn't. I'm not really familiar with everything in it. I'm still catching up from time off. So all Chord devs update that the naming or the numbering system for that isn't
I mean, it looks binary, doesn't it?
yeah.
I can hardly believe
Is
Tim
that
has
call
written
number two?
10 of these things. Yeah. But these are great. So I was writing what's new like 4 weeks ago, and or whenever it was, no, just over 2 weeks ago, the previous edition, and it gets to sort of quite late here because I procrastinate all day, and then I kind of write it frantically in the evening, and then I lose track of Twitter, and then as soon as I'd kind of press publish, I noticed I caught up on Twitter, and there was Tim's write up, and it had just missed getting in. So I felt bad about that because it's a really good summary of where everything is on not only merge things but also the other topics, the other candidates for inclusion in a post merge fork. So yeah, so it was my duty to get it into the next edition. A little late, but it's all still completely relevant, completely valid.
Yeah, it's great. Actually, this is my first glance at it, and now I'm absolutely committed to reading it. I can
Mm.
already see a bunch of really valuable stuff in there. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah, Tim's doing a super job of communicating at the EF. I mean, I always when he left Consensus, because we were working fairly closely together at Consensus. When he left, I just thought, what's the sort of tribute? How do I feel about Tim? Well, when I think to myself, when I reflect on my own performance, how could I be better at what I do, better at my job, better at life in general? My general reflection is, I need to be more like Tim.
Yeah.
He's just doing a super job. Sorry to lose him to the EF, but actually, he's doing such a great role there that I can't be too unhappy.
You could knit yourself a bracelet that says WWTD. What would Tim do? And anytime you're in a situation, you can just say, well, what would Tim do right now? Yeah, he's a great guy. I don't know him that well. I know him a little bit, but he is just killing it in the ecosystem. So very happy about that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Another Tim product.
Yeah, so this came out of a thread on Twitter, which was somebody very, very frankly and openly saying, "I've got no idea what's going on,"
Yeah.
which is great. I love it when people, most of us pretend we've got some clue as to what's happening, but it is confusing and it changes,
Yes.
and information comes in dribs and drabs from all over the place. It's hard to make sense of. So when somebody actually points out the emperor has no clothes. That's not quite the analogy, but when somebody speaks up and says, "Look, this is too confusing," I love it. And so Tim came in and had a thread answering the questions, and then this FAQ came out of it.
This is an extremely concise kind of status report. Yeah, so that's fantastic. Just even forget people who are starting from zero and catching up. People who just get a few weeks behind, it's easy to not have any idea where we are. So
yeah,
those are really valuable.
I was off Twitter for 2 days last week, and coming back, I felt like I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Okay, Beacon Chain. It's Prism supermajority is now less than 67%. My favorite current source for that is actually Sigma Prime's block print as presented by clientdiversity.org.
I feel I owe you an apology about this. I was a little negative. You were, this is the most important news of the year, and I was a bit sort of down on that, rained on the parade a little in my comment there, and but actually I wasn't up to date with the latest stats, and so what you just showed me from Sigma Prime is surprised me that we've got a much more even distribution. Prism at just over 50% is astonishing from where we were just a few weeks ago. And Teku Lighthouse are sort of approaching the kind of optimal 25%ish sort of area, which is superb. I mean, Teku is almost doubled in the last few months. And yeah, it'd be great to see Nimbus getting more traction. It's got a bit going there, but it is a great little client. So yeah, I'm more positive than I came across when I wrote that.
And that's okay. For me, I thought of it like a log jam, and for so long we were absolutely stuck 67%, nothing changing for months and months. And so this the progress probably took place over several weeks, but our viewing is delayed because it's based on block proposals. But knowing that Coinbase and Kraken have reduced, actually, there's a better knowing that Coinbase and Kraken have reduced their dependence on Prism, and also knowing, Lido is onboarding a ton of validators right now, and they are doing that with a focus on client diversity. And so while I have concerns about the overall governance growth of Lido, I'm really delighted that they're acting as good stewards right now with client diversity. So some of those things are great to see.
Yeah, and I think your advocacy has been relentless on this, and I've often been impressed at how you just keep coming back and not letting this issue go. And I genuinely think it's made a difference. I mean, it has made the difference having just making noise about this, I think really does help.
Thank you. And I'm proud of myself because I'm a quitter by nature. And the fact that I've been able to bulldog this until I've seen it through. As my therapist would say, I've leaned in. So I'm really proud of that. So it worked out well.
Yeah. And we're still not quite there. I mean, still over 50% for one client is not completely comfortable. But I'm encouraged that we're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. It depends where you're coming from. Coming from that super majority, this looks great. If we were coming from the other direction, it would be an absolute terror panic. But knowing that this is improving over time and knowing that the message is out, I actually feel really good about this. And I look forward to seeing a bunch of greens and yellows here in the next few weeks. So yeah, but we'll move on. Thank you. Merge testing. There was a big tweet about that this morning that I know you weren't able to cover here.
Yeah. So this is the mainnet shadow fork. The first one happened today. So we should probably talk about what this shadow fork thing is. As far as I know, it was more or less invented for the merge. So Marius from the Ethereum Foundation, he's one of the Geth developers, was credited with inventing the shadow fork. So basically, you're running Ethereum mainnet proof of work, and you sync up a node that supports the merge. So an ETH1 node, a Geth node, or a Besu, whatever. But you have the extra merge code in that node. So you sync up the mainnet. So you got the full mainnet state, and you're processing all the mainnet transactions, and then you simulate the merge on the nodes that you control. So you sync up a dozen of them or whatever, and they are your merge testnet. So at some point you've got the shadow of the mainnet, which is receiving all the mainnet transactions, and then it starts producing blocks by proof of stake, and it sort of diverges from the mainnet, but it has all the state and it processes the mainnet transactions. And it's a brilliant test. It is effectively doing the merge. It is exactly what will happen when we do it for real, with the full state and the full cutover at a particular difficulty height. So yeah, it's a great test. This is the very first mainnet. We've done a few girly shadow forks. We've done, I think, 3, 4, something like that. When I say we, I wasn't involved at all.
The inclusive us.
Yeah, basically Parry and
all of us,
Marius from the Ethereum Foundation did this. And so we did a bunch on the girly network. That's good, but not quite such a test. Doing it on mainnet is genuinely a full test of the merge. And there was a tweet about 5-10 minutes ago, I think, from Marius saying that it had gone superbly. That one, mainnet shadow fork, was a huge success. A couple of little gremlins, Nethermind and Besu stopped, fixes being deployed. So, so the caveat, the other side of it is we focus on what's good because, we're optimists and we love that. But actually, we do need to focus on what's bad. It does need to go perfectly. We'll do this a few more times. We will not do the actual merge until we've done this flawlessly for a few times. So, but it's good.
We have that whole, it's great to find bugs. Let's do this and find bugs while we're all secretly hoping that everything goes perfect every time. And then we find a bug and we say, this is great. We're so happy we found this bug. And everyone's like, oh, crap. Oh, yeah.
We'll squash them all.
So April 29th is inflating as a big day on all core devs.
Yeah, and I hope I'm right about this. It was mentioned on the last All Core Devs call as the date. So 2 after that one month after that call, it was said we will make a decision. So there are various things that have to be decided. So forking testnets. Are we ready to fork the actual, like Rinkeby and all of those, Sepolia testnets? Are the clients ready for that? So that's effectively the go no go decision that would be made at that meeting. But it is implicitly a go no go on are we going to try to do the merge in time, or are we going to delay it? Because if they delay at that point, if we delay forking the test nets, then we're not going to be able to get it done before the difficulty bomb, and we have to delay that. So it's a big call. It's a big decision at that point.
I think it's important for people to I think the term is to still themselves. I don't know if that's steal or STILL themselves, but we as end users, as eager as we are for this to happen, we have to realize that core developers are not going to proceed until things are perfect, and so the actual likelihood of this going through is probably a little lower than the optimists feel excited about.
Yeah, and there are people on both sides. And the other thing is, we're not doing this in isolation, right? When we put up the beacon chain, that was pretty much in isolation. We could do that as a bunch of dev teams without, touching other parts of the ecosystem at all. Whereas for the merge to go well, it's not only us that have to be ready, it's everybody has to be ready. Anyone who's running a node is going to have an impact from this, whether they're Exchange or they're Infura or other DApp operator, or somebody at a home running a node, or a staker. Every single one of these entities, or Block Explorer, has to upgrade their infrastructure. And it's not a simple upgrade. It's not upgrade the software on one client. It's putting down a whole new piece of infrastructure, whole new client, doing all the networking and all of that stuff. And these people are not just doing Ethereum. For the most part, the average exchange is probably supporting 20, 30 chains. This is just one among many for them. They need to schedule the engineering resources and blah, 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 blah. So it's not like we say as devs, okay, let's do it tomorrow. There has to be we have to allow a good lead time with the appropriate support and the environment they can test in and stage it and do everything, so that everybody in the entire ecosystem is ready to do it, because otherwise it's going to be a disaster.
As an ETH maxi, I'm like, why are exchanges even supporting other coins at this point? Like, why bother? Like, yeah. I wanted to say though, the Kiln launch actually to me seemed like a really great wake-up call, because it seems like testing has kind of quadrupled since Kiln, and it seems like there's a real passion to kind of get caught up and realign. Do you perceive that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, effectively, it's the first serious testnet that's people who are using the chain professionally should rely on and invest in running nodes on Kiln and getting their infrastructure ready. It is the closest to a production testnet that we're going to have before the merge. So that's the one. If you are delaying getting going, I would encourage you delay no further. This is a chance.
Yeah, it's coming. And I see this optimism for July, and I'm so hopeful that it does pan out. And not in a rushed way, but in a, we've done 6 tests in a row, everything has gone flawlessly. Let's take it to test nets. I hope that pays off.
Yeah, it's just 3 months away. 3 months can go in a blink of an eye. And there's uncertainty about the difficulty bomb as well. Mining hash rate is high at the moment, all-time high, I believe, which brings it forward, right? The more difficulty goes up, the closer the bomb comes. So I think that's right. So if the miners keep crunching away, then it will become a problem sooner, and we won't have any option but to delay it. So we'll see.
Yeah,
big unknown.
Slide over here and hit Control C on my miner real fast. I'm not mining, except Sepolia. So Alex Stokes did Peep and Eep.
Yeah, I don't think that's up yet. It may have gone up since I wrote, but I'm sure that'll be great. So yeah, they record, then Pooja puts up the recordings a few days later. So worth checking the ETH Cat Herders YouTube channel. There's such a wealth of great stuff there. ETH Cat Herders Peep and Eep series is one of the most underrated things in our ecosystem, and their videos get woefully few watches, and they've done like 100 talks about different EIPs in Ethereum and presentations, and some are short and some are long and some are deep and some are not so deep, but there's immense wealth of stuff there, presented by the people who are doing the work, who are writing the EIPs and so on. It's brilliant.
It's funny because the thing that we've kind of learned from ETHstaker is we're working to target the audience that is ready to listen. And sometimes, like, if you aim too high, if you're too scholarly, then people tune out. And we really figure that out by doing this how to get started staking with a Nook with our intern, Mr. Mojo. And he was as goofy as can be. And it was just so wildly popular. And so we're like, okay, we have to talk where people are and not, but yeah, I don't want to take anything away. The ETH cat herders are fantastic. I love their content. It is so high quality. I worry that, the general public may have difficulty following it, but it's extremely valuable.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It probably assumes a certain level of knowledge, and it's given from a dev's point of view. So it's not entry level, but there are some good presenters around. It's worth keeping an eye on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I highly recommend.
It's a little bit. It's just like Twitter followers. Like, would you rather have 10 Twitter followers who each know everything about the subject area, or would you rather have 100,000 who have no idea what's going on? And it turns out, like, having targeting that correct audience is really valuable. So I think ETH cat herders really hits that mark in their way. So that's fantastic. Credential migration.
Yeah. This is interesting one. So there's a long story behind this, and talking of coming from the dev's point of view, there was a plan to migrate everybody's Ethereum account to a new kind of account where you would use your BLS key to operate your account instead of your current key and so forth. That's long dead. We're using normal Ethereum accounts. Future of Ethereum, carry on using MetaMask and your ledger and all the usual stuff and signatures and all of that. But there was this sort of overlap period where withdrawal credentials were BLS keys. So there were this new signing form that we have, and you made a commitment to this key. So if you staked early in the life of the beacon chain, you will have a 0x00 type key. So the first version, which you had to register a commitment to this key. If you stake later on, you're probably using a normal Ethereum address as your withdrawal credential, and you'll have specified a 0x01 key, and it will just be an Ethereum account. So because the first type, is the 0 type, no longer points to anything that resembles an account, it's just a signing key. We need, at some stage, if people want to do a withdrawal, we've got to get into the system the account, the actual ETH1 account they want to withdraw into. So there needs to be a migration from the 0 key to a 01 key, a process of that. And especially if you want to take advantage of this automatic sweeping of your rewards into your account every 6 weeks or so, then that will only apply to the new style, the 0x01 keys. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, so I have to acknowledge that is completely new to me. So I'm aware of 0x01 and I'm aware of 0x00, but I didn't know that the deposit system had changed, so that the OX01 key or wallet address is now embedded in the withdrawal credentials. I didn't know that. Is that correct?
I think it's still optional. I haven't done a beacon chain deposit for a little while, so
let's do one today.
I haven't tried the new workflow, but I think what you will put in there is your Ethereum withdrawal address now. That will be the standard.
Are you entering that into the deposit key generator?
Right.
Oh, interesting. So that's totally. I might I wish I might look under my calendars and see if I can find 32 ETH today and make a quick deposit.
Well, I can send you some girly ETH if you want to do
uh, you know,
well, I'm sorry, I can sell you some girly ETH.
yes, exactly. I can do 1-for-1 exchanges, 1 ETH for 1 girly ETH if you've got it. But no, that's really interesting. I didn't know that was happening that way. But there is a flag that we're going to be able to specify in our like config to say which address we want to take payouts to. Isn't that
right? So you got two different configs here. So your block rewards need to go to an address. So the Coinbase in the block. So when your validator proposes a block, the minor tips, as they used to be called, I don't know what we're going to call them now, but the validator tips need to go somewhere. So that will go to your an account that you can specify in real time, and you can change. And so that's a parameter to your validator or to your beacon node or to your ETH1 client. You can put it in any of those places, and it says when I make a block, the Coinbase sends the minor tips to this Ethereum address. That's me.
Okay.
And then you've got withdrawals. So the rest of the beacon chain rewards, the rewards you get for attesting, sync committees, the other block rewards, which are not the minor tips, they all accrue on the beacon chain. So you have your beacon chain validator account and number go up.
They are ETH2.
Right, exactly. And
Careful,
they
right?
need, at some point, you're going to want to get those out of the beacon chain and into a regular Ethereum account. And so if you've got a 0x01 credential, no problem. The beacon chain already knows what address you want to withdraw that to. But if you have a 0x00 credential, that doesn't relate to any ETH1 account today. So you need to do some kind of conversion. I'm
imagining like some Jim McDonald ETH2 magic where you submit your 24-word seed phrase and it gives you an ETH1 address. Am I anywhere near what might work?
Well, you'll have to send a transaction on the beacon chain, which will say, I want to change my credential from old style to new style. And so you will supply your seed phrase that you originally registered, which will generate your old commitment, sign that, and then that will be validated on the beacon chain so that it knows that you're not doing hanky panky, and then you'll give the ETH1 address that you want to replace it with.
Do you remember the AB transactions from Olympic to Frontier?
Before my time, dude.
Okay, so that's what it sounds like to me. So if you were mining on the Olympic testnet to claim those coins on Frontier mainnet, you had to do what was called an AB transaction, where you kind of said, yes, I'm this person and I want to claim these on mainnet. Is that
right?
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like that. Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, and there will be plenty of tools around to do this. I mean, clients will do this. It will be like sending a voluntary exit message to the network now. You'll be able to send a change my credentials message to the network.
So I really I had no idea that all of that was going on. I guess I just missed it, but I just remember how contentious OX01 was in the beginning, and now it seems to be the default withdrawal style. So that's interesting.
Yeah, there were some other ones. Yeah, it's going a bit of a rabbit hole that, but yeah, it seems to have become the default option.
Cool, great. Yeah, I didn't. Sorry if I got hung up on that. I learned a ton. What are we looking at here?
History pruning. Yeah, so this was there's an EIP for 881. Lots of 4s and 8s in EIPs recently, which gets very confusing.
Somebody worked hard to get this number. It's a vanity EIP.
Yeah. This is a bit of a technicality, but there's a move to allow Ethereum nodes, beacon nodes, and the execution nodes to forget history after a while. After a year, they can basically drop block history that's more than a year old, and the assumption is that somebody somewhere will store it. Block explorers will have it, or it'll be on IPFS, or it's not going to vanish. It's old enough that it will stick around somewhere. And the interesting history is the more recent history, so up to a year old, say. But the problem is that the the way that Beacon clients currently work is they need the history of the ETH1 chain going back as far as the deployment of the deposit contract, which is like 18 months ago now. So so if we drop that history, then we've got a problem. You won't be able to sync up a Beacon client. So the solution to that is to sort of maintain the current state of the deposit contract and serve that as part of a sort of a sync, rather than have to trawl back through the whole history. And so I think Nimbus already does this, and or they've come up with a way to do this, and Mark from the Lighthouse team has sort of proposed making it a standard. So it's good news. It will just make syncing a Beacon node easier. But it is under the hood. Nobody needs to really worry about this. You won't notice the difference.
I struggle a little bit to understand the incentives for that, and I guess the incentives for keeping old chain data. It sounds like everyone's like, oh yeah, someone will keep it, and I'm like, okay, but that's probably a discussion for another day.
Well, it's not so useful in proof of stake land, because we have this weak subjectivity thing, and which means that it's possible to fake old block history. So once it's a certain age old, you can't trust it anyway necessarily. So it's there's less interest in it, but people, over time storage costs only go down, so people will store it. It doesn't have to be accessible.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll store it. I that's just what we do, but it's just I don't know.
It'll be up on BitTorrent, and you'll be able to find some seeds somewhere. I mean, EF might have a seed, and whatever.
So Samara Sat has just done I was going to say a dirty word, has done a kick butt job of I'm trying to be family friendly. It's my new me. A great job of keeping up with the staking guides. And so between him and CoinCashew's guides, I feel really great about the work that they're doing. You've named my two favorites, and they're a labor of love. They really are. The amount of work that goes into these things and the pernickety details is immense. So just brilliant. And Summer has been at this for a very long time, since before launch of Beacon Chain, and it's just kept on going. He was doing testnet guides before launch, and to know that he has open sourced these, it's so valuable. Here's his Topaz guide from 2 years ago. Topaz was, I think, the first testnet that Prism launched in way back in the when. So thanks so much to Samir. That actually makes me think about, I won't spend a lot of time on it, but eStaker is working with CLR Fund to create a grants round for people who are creating this kind of content, this kind of
brilliant
Beacon Chain educational dashboard style decentralization content. So I can't wait to get more out about that. I
always throw a few die his way and CoinCashew's way in the Gitcoin rounds, just because these super valuable service to the community. I mean, I use Summer's guide to set up my own Teku node, right? Back in the day. I mean, and I'm Teku dev. I mean, but it was just so good and so clear that that my setup is based on what he wrote.
That's when people would say, hey Fizz, can you give me a personal walkthrough on setting up? And I'm like, I'm going to use Samir's guide. And they're like, well, what's special about what you do? I'm like, nothing. I'm just going to use what he does because he knows what he's doing. So they're great guides. Evan Jones is a guy who has kind of shown up lately. He's just really sharp and interesting. He has some good ideas on improving Rocket Pool, or on promoting the use of Rocket Pool.
Good. Confession, I didn't read that article deeply. I sort of skimmed through it. Do you have sort of comments or reflections?
So it's hilarious. I read it before vacation. I remember when I read it, it's one of those like, wow, this is really valuable. But at this moment, I couldn't summarize it accurately. I remember he uses LaTeX, which it's so well formatted. but essentially he's talking about the value proposition of why RETH and RPL are valuable. It's definitely worth a deep dive. Thanks to Evan for putting that up.
Cool. I'll do my homework.
Um,
and you took a look at Rocket Pool's new terminal UI. How did that go?
Yes, I love it. We were talking about how great Samir's guide is for simplifying installation, but Rocket Pool just has this in the bag. Like literally download their installer, hit go, and it's really a enter start. So this is as close as anything I've seen to single click installation. So we kind of realize at this point, the bulk of new deposited Ether is not coming from full stakers. It's coming from institutional investors. But I really think there's a lot of opportunity for small stakers, 16, 17 ETH, to get into Rocket Pool and profit really well and decentralize the network. So thanks to Rocket Pool, to Joe Klappis for setting that up.
Yeah, I think if I weren't already running my own nodes, I would run a Rocket Pool node. If I was starting today, I would do that, because I'm sort of running solo and have been since the beginning, and Rocket Pool didn't come in till a year later. I don't want to really mess with that, but if I was starting today, I'd definitely run as a Rocket Pool host node.
Yeah, it's hilarious that you say that, because I have both. I have two servers. One of them is running Rocket Pool and one of them is running solo. And I tell myself when my solo node, when something goes down, I'm just going to use Eth2 Docker and switch them over to the Rocket Pool node, because it's so much easier to admin. Like, it's great to know how it works. And yes, I know how it works now. So let's just make it easy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I should think about that more.
Adrian Sutton, do you know this guy?
Adrian, yeah, he's all right. Adrian is a force of nature. It's extraordinary. He's been pumping out some good articles lately on his sort of personal blog. He goes, he'll go a few months without something, and then something will grab his interest, and he'll just write up some great little articles from his experience of building Teku. And this one was something we've known about for a while, but he had the opportunity to get the graphs and get the data on it. So we added 10,000 nodes. Prata testnet is getting small compared to mainnet now. So as client devs, we thought it was a good plan to beef it up a bit. You need your testnet to be a real test. So we added 10,000 more Teku nodes, and I guess the other teams are adding more. Or when I say nodes, I should say validators. We were actually running them on 2 beacon nodes, so 5,000 each. And so those deposits were processed went through and were just building up. And Adrian just measured the CPU load and other aspects of the performance on the node as the number of deposits increases. And basically, until your node is handling more than 60 or 70 validators, the load increases with the number of validators that are active. So if you've got 10 validators and you add 10 more, you basically double your load and you double your network bandwidth that you're using. But it tops out at about 60 to 70. And so if you've got 100 validators and you add another 100, you don't add any more load to your node. I mean, or imperceptible extra load. So, and you can add 1,000 or 5,000, and it's basically no extra work for your node. And the reason is interesting. It's because the way we have these subnets, so the validators have to listen in on different network subnets in order to aggregate attestations across them. So they broadcast their attestations on subnets. So the beacon node that the validator is on or attached to has to subscribe to subnets. So when you've got one validator, you're basically subscribed to one subnet. And if you've got two, you're subscribed to two. But there are only 64 of these things. And once you subscribe to all 64, then you don't need to subscribe to any more. And most of the load is validating gossip on these subnets. So it's just checking signatures of gossip messages on subnets. That's most of what your beacon node is doing most of the time.
Yeah, I could see someone who wanted to break the narrative kind of say, Clearly it's better if you run thousands of nodes on a validator or on a node, thousands of validators on a node. But there is, I guess, some point after 64 that it becomes cost effective to run more validators, but I'm not sure that really disrupts our narrative too badly.
Yeah, it's a sort of slight fly in the ointment of the design. I would like it to be, the old one CPU, one vote, one unit of CPU work, one validator that scaled perfectly would be the perfect design, but it's hard to achieve. And the cost of running a validator and the cost of the stake dwarf any savings through aggregating.
That's really where I wanted to go. Like you're still making substantial profit by running one validator on one node at home. Don't let that effect size make you feel like somehow you're being wronged, because it is extremely valuable.
And so there is a tiny increase in centralizing pressure. The costs of a staking operation running thousands of validators per validator cost, their per validator cost will be slightly less than my per validator cost. But it is fractional. It's dollars per month. It's not thousands of dollars per month, right?
Staking on Ethereum April 2022, not a ton has changed. I still promote solo staking above all else. I highly encourage rocket pool mini pool operation because that does decentralize the network. I do encourage buying our ETH if you are if you have 1 or 2 ETH to stake, and I do discourage centralization and staking with exchanges. Not a lot of that has changed. The only thing that is sort of beginning to emerge, I think, is we need to begin looking more at execution layer consensus. Execution layer diversity, and I'm sort of encouraging people to try Besu now.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's going to be the next big battle, but Besu's getting there. They've got their the bonsai tree thing, which is self-pruning, so you don't have to take it down to prune the database. That is now fully supported and released. They are working on SnapSync, which is the final bit that will make it a fully fledged mainnet client, in my view. And that should be out soon.
But people ought to realize that we all believe competition is healthy in this space. That Geth has a great market share. That's fantastic. Choosing a different client isn't slapping Geth in the face. It is stimulating everyone to keep producing at a high level. So we're excited. The big man. So anything he writes, I'm just obsessed with.
Yeah, it's terrific, isn't it? Some good stuff. I mean, fairly straightforward explainer overview of where rewards are coming from post merge. So nothing particularly surprising or to rock the boat there, but really nice if you'd like to see how it all works.
Let me tell you, the thing I love about Jim's writing is as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah, I knew that. And then I stop reading it and I can't explain any of it. so it's written so well that I can interpret it, really well. And then I'm away from it and I'm like, wow, that's too big for my head. But I appreciate Jim so much.
It's a gift. It is a gift.
Verkle trees. What do you got here?
Yeah, so this is early stage stuff. So part of it is the future plan is to move to some degree of statelessness in Ethereum, so that Ethereum doesn't have to deal with this massive state all the time. Or not, I don't necessarily have to have it all on my node at home. Miners might, or I should say validators might need it. And part of that is moving to this Verkle tree structure. So there's Ethereum nodes have what's called a Merkle Patricia tree. And what we're trying to do here is reduce the witness size. So the idea is that when you create a transaction, you not only send the transaction, you send the data that transaction needs to execute along with it. So, if I want to send you a 1 ETH, then I need to send my account balance, I need to send your account balance, and I need to send proofs that those are correct
Oh yeah.
account balances, because your node, my node, or the nodes out there may not know that information. It's part of the state. They may not have the state. So I've not only got to prove that I've got enough ETH to send the transaction, but so it can calculate the balances afterwards. And it's the proofs that are the problem. With Merkle Patricia trees, proving my account balance is this massive blob of data, this Merkle proof, and proving your account balance similarly. So the Verkle tree structure is a much more efficient, compressed proof that the data that I'm supplying is actually correct. And so that the Ethereum node can take it, not on trustlessly, take that data that I provided, verify it, and execute the transaction, even though it doesn't have the state. It knows that the state that I provided is the correct state because the proof is correct. And proofs with Verkle trees are very small. So
I'm going to openly confess, I'm not ashamed of this. I'm a normal human. When we get into Merkle, Verkle, and Patricia, my eyes just glaze over, and I'm like, I don't know those people at all. Like it's good stuff, I'm sure. A little over my head.
Yeah, I'm trying to write a book on this stuff. So
yeah. And I'm trying to read it, but all right. Christine Kim, I loved her tweet from the other day.
Yeah, Christine is doing great. I'm so happy with what Christine's up to. So she and I did a podcast for a little while at CoinDesk when she was there, which was great fun. And she is definitely one of the good people to have around. She has a deep understanding. She really follows the Ethereum space carefully and critically. I mean, she's not a maxi, but she evaluates claims and is a genuinely honest and well-intentioned reporter on the space. So yeah, I've been very impressed with what Christine's been working on since she left CoinDesk. And joined Galaxy Digital, and she's done a couple of really good research reports.
Yeah, I don't say this too often, but she is someone that I would really encourage everyone to drop and follow on Twitter right now, because the quality of her content is just like, I read this and I'm like, damn, I wish that I could put that out. Like it's really good stuff. She's Christine_D Kim on Twitter, and let me pull it up real fast. And this isn't a promotion. I don't know her. I just started following her a few weeks ago, but her stuff is just really high quality. I do follow her. This is an anonymous account or anonymous whatever, but yeah. Anyway, just worth checking out.
Yep, seconded.
Misconceptions. As people who do this every day, the misconceptions, like, they're the same ones and they do get old, but it really is important that we forget that we are not the intended audience, that there are thousands of people out there who really need to know the misconceptions, that like the gas prices will not go down after the merge. That's probably the one that is most valuable to understand.
Yeah, and the extraordinary thing about this, which I didn't call out, is that the first article, The 3 Misconceptions, is in Fortune magazine. I mean, not your regular crypto publication, right? I'm seeing this stuff more and more broadly across the media in general, and we're becoming mainstream. It's rare that a day goes by when even on the BBC News over here there isn't some kind of crypto story, and as we said, usually somewhat negative, but it's there, it's present, it's in the media, it's in the zeitgeist. So yeah, we're going mainstream. Big contrast to like 4 or 5 years ago when I was looking at making it my full-time job. It seemed very niche.
Yeah, definitely. My last job, I was literally emailing people private keys, and I'm like, hey, if you can claim this, you can have it. And people are like, please just focus on business. But yeah, things are changing quickly. I love Vitalik's stuff. This is probably one of my favorite things he's ever written. And it's essentially saying we can't predict the future, so we've done our best and we're pretty happy with where we're at.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I mean, the Ethereum way of doing things has been to explore. I mean, we have genuinely been explorers in a newfound land, just finding our way, and there have been plenty of dead ends and routes that we probably could have taken a shortcut on, and
Yeah.
all of this, but that's how it's felt. Yeah,
That's if you look at the way the merge will be implemented. If we knew 5 years ago what the merge was going to look like today, it could have probably been developed in 3 months. But it's all of that time moving toward it, the research, the exploration, the understanding that is it was necessary. And now, with building on shoulders of giants, it's available, and it's it'll keep on improving.
Yeah, Vitalik's a great writer. I love it.
Yeah, I love it when I can interpret it, which simplified secret single leader election.
That one might be a bit more of a challenge.
Like, oh,
I'm struggling with that myself.
Oh, good, because I have this thing where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna tough it out, and then I get to like the third sentence, and I'm like, I'm out. It's not happening. Sorry, I tried.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us about that real quickly?
Well, it's one of these problems that we've been working on for like 3-4 years. There was a call put out by the EF, I think it was like 4 years ago, just to say, has anyone got any ideas how to solve this? There was a bounty on it, because nobody had any idea. So, and the issue we want to solve is that if I'm the proposer of a block, I get some notice that I'm the proposer of a block, but nobody else on the network knows that it's my turn until I propose a block. And then everybody can verify that I was, it was Ben who was supposed to propose in this slot. And what this avoids is the idea. So if I know when you are due to propose a block, I can denial of service your node, potentially, and prevent you from proposing that block. And in that way, selectively, if I know the next 32 block proposers, I can selectively DOS them. And then take control or exert control on the network. So the idea is we want this secrecy around who is the next block proposer. They know, but nobody else does. But then you can verify it. And it turns out to be a really hard problem. And some of my colleagues in Consensus came up with the very first idea how to do this using some zero knowledge proofs. But it was sort of heavyweight. And over time, it's just iterated and iterated until Vitalik's come up with something which, maybe it could work. I mean, it's hard to say just now, but it's been really interesting to see progress on this.
That's great. So I'll take that summary. So implementers call 85, which I haven't heard. I know. Go ahead.
Well, it's a fantasy. Christine is taking notes on it, as she does for the All Core Devs calls as well. This is Christine Kim, we mentioned earlier, and it's fascinating looking at her notes and my notes, and they might be of different meetings, but we just have different viewpoints on the same meeting, and different things pique our interest. And
this is actually what I was trying to reference earlier. Yeah, so that's great though. Like, it's great seeing the different. Yeah, I love how. You both have different takeaways, but as a third party reading both of them, I find interesting points from both points of view. Like, everything doesn't interest me, but I'm able to pick and choose what I found most interesting. I still want to go back and catch that one. All Core Devs, Christine Kim's notes again. So those are going to become very valuable. Obviously, Tim does after every All Core Devs call, he does a tweet storm. That is just if you ever miss an All Core Dev, even if you're there, his tweets kind of put it together, and they're super valuable.
They're a great reference.
DevConnect,
yay! It's like next week.
Wow,
it's going to be my first outing for a very long time. You will not be there, is that right?
I'm skipping. We weren't ready for me to travel to Amsterdam, so I'm staying stateside.
Yeah, well, shame. I look forward to seeing many people, many friends there. But I've already told my family, look, it's a certainty I'm going to catch COVID, right? So just get ready to isolate me when I come home, because it's going to happen. But
have you had it yet?
No, not knowingly. I've never tested positive,
okay.
so I've had a bunch of vaccinations. So hopefully it will be all good. But yeah.
We're essentially the same. Like I've had all my vaccinations. We've pretty much stayed in the house. My wife's like, you're not going to throw away 3 years of isolation on catching COVID now. I'm like, okay.
I think the time has come. The time has come.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to, for anyone who doesn't know, ETHStaker, and you can go learn more at ethstaker.cc, is hosting a huge, I don't know what I call it, huge, a valuable staking 3-day kind of mini conference there as a part of DevConnect. I know that they started with 360 open seats. They are asking for $100 retainer for the tickets, and then you're going to get that back when you actually show up. You may not know that people like claim these tickets and then don't use them. So the speakers list, the contributors there are, it's an incredible kind of lineup. It's really the thing that makes me wish that I could go.
Yep. Yeah. I think Adrian Sutton, we mentioned earlier, will be presenting a little bit on that. Yeah, I'm very much hoping to get to the ETHStaker event. The problem with DevConnect is there's so much going on. So the first 2 days, we've got like protocol dev teams, L1 and L2 get-togethers, which are the sort of mandatory bits for me. And then day 3, I'm at the Light Client Summit. Day 4 is Thursday. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. I'm hoping to get to ETHStaker. It's the hackathon that day, right? So hoping to show up at the ETHStaker event on the Thursday at some point.
Yeah, that actually kind of, one of the things they're going to promote is that CLR funds raising grants round that's going to begin right after DevConnect. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is get some interest in that hackathon and then pivot those projects into CLR grants matching. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity. The thing I'm most excited about seeing the outcome of, and I have no idea how this is going to unfold, but they're doing a explain Ethereum like I'm a preschooler, explain it like I'm a 5-year-old, explain it like I'm a 10-year-old, explain it like I'm an undergrad, explain it like I'm a graduate student. And they have different speakers for each of those levels. I am so hopeful that gets put together into like one quality video distributed, because it's a fantastic idea.
Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah, I think Jim McDonald will be speaking as well. If I recall correctly. Yeah.
So many, like and I guess so. I'm not going to be there, obviously, but I have kind of watched from the sidelines as the other 8 ETHStakers have just busted tail on this for the past 4 months. So I'm really confident that it's going to be a quality project. So
yep, I need to make sure I show up at some point to get my $100 back. But
there ought to be a POAP too. That's really the why go if it's not. It's funny. Like I was like, honey, you know there's going to be a POAP, and I really need to get it. And she's like, well, can't you just buy it somewhere? That's not the point.
Outrageous.
Yeah. Well,
there we are. We've done an hour. Who'd believe it?
Oh, dude,
we've rambled on for an hour.
If I were to guess, I would have guessed that we had run long, but I'm really glad to go through the stuff with you.
It's fun, and yeah, thanks for this. It's great fun. Love talking it through with you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for participating. I'm going to end the recording somehow.